lines. Having compassion for oneself.
Everything starts with oneself. If you can't do it towards yourself, how are you supposed to do it towards others?
That's right. And we're taught our emotions. We're not taught how to express them. We're not taught the names of them to identify them. Situations, circumstances, and the associated emotions are running our life. We're not choosing them.
And it gets a bit scary when you then gotta work with yourself. But I wasn't taught
Mm,
to work with myself. I was taught to work with others.
yes, good. It is. It's scary to look at oneself, to look at myself,
Yeah.
to look at me, to look at me and all of the expectations that I've put around me, how I need to be, what I need to do. And most of it, the expectations of ourselves, we didn't even put there. They came
Mhm.
from someone else.
As we work with ourselves, then come to the scary questions. What do I want? Actually
Mm,
want? What is not
yes,
what other people want from me. It's what do I want for myself? Oh, ooh.
right. What does my heart want? What does my heart desire? What is that little voice in my heart wanting me to do? And when we look at myself, we look at ourself, we begin to find our purpose. Slowly, we find our passions. We uncover our power. And this begins to lead to peace.
Sort of deprogramming and reprogramming at once.
Mm, the Master Heart Community. Mastering our heart. Where the heart becomes the master.
I like masterpiece as well. Join the masterpiece. Masterpiece.
Yeah, because the heart actually gives peace to the mind, peace of mind.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, the silence, right, that we can uncover and just to sit in the silence to see what we wrestle with.
Greetings, Kyle.
Good
Greetings,
morning,
Kyle.
Kyle.
Hello, hello. How's everyone doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
Oh, I am like extremely exhausted. I think I did like 15 hours of phone calls and text and meetings yesterday. I am just exhausted.
Mm, good.
Ooh.
I feel like going back to bed.
Mm,
What a grafter you are. What a grafter.
Sorry, what?
What a grafter. That's what we say in UK. Someone that was like works silly hard. Well done. Well done. Good on you,
Yeah,
mate.
it was a real good day yesterday. I had real amazing calls. Randomly met this one gentleman on Facebook, and he's a realtor telling about our real estate opportunity, and got onto the subject of NMR technology that can scan the ground. And then he's like, well, my dad's into gas and oil exploration, and he's about to get a $500 million loan. I was like, oh man, here we go. So
Don't be.
Brilliant.
yeah, hopefully something comes of that. That'd be huge.
So, like, what do most of your calls like? Is it to be? Are you promoting one specific thing, or is it multiple things?
Yeah, it's multiple. It all depends what space they're in, and we got a bunch of technologies to choose from, to, if they're in the energy space or the mining space or the health space or the infrastructure construction space or the water and oil and what have you. um, or even banking. I mean, with our trusts out of Canada, people are starting to perk their ears up about the possibilities that we have with that opportunity. Now, if you know anyone in the UK or Europe or States, we can take a $20 million property. We go and get a 50% LTV loan from our investors, and that 10 million would go straight into a buy sell program of movies like Lord of War II or Lycan with Jack Black, or there's a celebrity cooking show that's coming out on Netflix. So they get first look access at movies or shows, and they buy it, wrap it up, and then sell it to Netflix or Sony or what have you. And that's their buy sell program. They guarantee 40% every 2 months on the funds. So it's really neat, really unique, and people are just like amazed at it, basically. So it's really cool.
It's like there's a lot going on. So, like, are these all like individual people that you've come across and you've brought them all together?
Um, sorta. Yeah, I mean, you know, networking, just like how we met, just randomly message, make a post, and then get on a call, and like, oh, I need you to meet this guy. Oh, I need you to meet this guy, and then meet that guy or woman, and then create the relationship, and they're like, oh, I got someone you need to meet. And that's just been happening for 3 years, and it's just been magical, absolutely magical. it's
Wow.
it's divine. I think the good Lord has all of us meeting for a reason, on the specific time that we're supposed to meet. um it's amazing, man. I've been seeing some uh, amazing coincidences. Like I've been working with this one team called the One Society, and they're basically doing the same thing we're doing. And they I got our intake officer on the phone with them, and our intake officers in Mexico City, and they were like, "Hey, we got a partner in Mexico City," and then we got him on the call, and the next day they met up for lunch, and then they're like, they found come to find out they have some of the same friends and partners, and then one of his partners is one of our intake officers' old partners, and then they met the next day, and now they're back in contact and putting some deals together. It's just like, what are the odds? It's amazing.
Yeah, I
God,
love it when that's just like a sign in that you're on the right track. Keep going.
yeah, exactly. Just makes
So
me
like,
smile.
is it like mainly you doing this? Like you say, you've got a team.
Yeah, we got a large team. We got a big team in Africa. We got Finland and South Africa. We got Australia. We got India. We got obviously a bunch in the States. We got Mexico, Canada. Yeah, we're pretty spread out.
And what do these other teams do in other countries? Are they like other
Um,
countries you can go to?
sorry, what?
What are these other teams doing in the different countries?
Well, they aren't really team. Well, we our teams are in Africa, but the other places are just individuals that are part of the team. But
Yeah.
our main teams are in Tanzania, Nigeria, South Africa, Uganda. So a lot of our focus is in Africa, majority of it. And
Is that on purpose?
yeah, I'd say so. They have the most, mineral rich with our NMR technology. We scan the grounds, find their assets, extract the assets, keep the assets in their country, and do the infrastructure. We got Uganda signing our contract at the end of this month when the president gets back from traveling, and they're putting up our consultancy fee. And then what's nice is we take that consultancy fee, a couple $100,000, and we put that into our trust program, and we can multiply. He can one exit um, within about 7 days. So we can turn 500,000 into a mill in about 7 days with one of the programs he has available. So yeah, it's really really neat.
Wow. Yeah, it's blowing my head up, and I'm just trying to get my head around it. But I'm excited as it's unfolding. It's music to my ears.
Yeah, man, it's been a long time, but it's on his time, so it's a
Yeah.
coming.
So your stuff that you look in underground compared to people what they used to use, like how much deeper does yours go?
Ours goes 2 miles deep, and what they normally use is like a helicopter with like a scanner, and they have to use the fuel, they have to pay the pilot, they have to, guess basically where everything is at. I mean, they have a good idea based off of the previous geologists and surveying and whatnot, but that is pretty expensive as far as the helicopter. In ours, we can scan 650 acres in a couple hours, all from satellite.
And what kind of things can you see?
Anything on the periodic table, whether it's oil, gas, gold, diamonds, anything that's on the periodic table, water.
So like, are they not
Probably
already
other
used?
things that aren't.
Um, Yeah, that's a good question. I've always wanted to know, like, if we can find deep underground bases or things of the like. I've I've wanted to ask the guy, but I've not asked him yet, especially in the
What
States.
about what about like flipping mud flood like Tartaria, like where buildings have like
Right.
yeah.
That's a
Like,
that's a good question. Yeah, I'm gonna ask once we get started. I'm definitely gonna be asking him because I would love to know that. Oh, that'd be so cool, man.
two
Well,
miles deep.
and they've found out that quote unquote fossil fuels are not fossil fuels. Oil is perpetual and it is unlimited supply, and they have proven it that the earth makes the oil. So it's really neat some things that they're finding out.
Oil should be plant-based if you think about it. You don't see at the cemetery that oil is floating up from the coffins. You see where have been marks or whatever with lots of plant life. It's the plant that deteriorate and turn into turpentine and then continues under pressure to turn into oil. So every layer of earth has its own oil layer.
Mm, that's a good point. Hmm, very interesting. Very Yeah, just excited, very excited, ready to get all this going.
Hope you find some water. Africa actually needs that more than they need diamonds and oil.
Yeah, so our hopefully one of our first countries is going to be in Tanzania, which they're the only country that has tanzanite, and those are I think 4 times more rare than diamonds. So that'd be a cool, you know, project to be able to locate all their tanzanite. It's like a blue diamond.
Funnily enough, I seen something on my newsfeed today where like the concrete was cracking on this motorway and like they were pulling it off and like there were crystals coming out from underneath the ground, which was
Huh.
I don't know if it was I don't know if it was legit, but like where Heinz was saying there where you're like buried and the stuff coming up just reminded me.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting.
I hear I can relate to the mood, Kyle, or the emotion of anticipation.
Just
Yeah,
imagine how much.
you've been at this for a long time, right? Like you've been doing your chemistry and putting your projects together for several years as well, right?
Yep.
Just imagine what's under the cities, the pressure that are applied there compared to in the desert. Much more ground pressure above.
Good morning, Craig.
Good morning, Greg.
Greetings, the old legend.
We were discussing oneself, discovering compassion, and just aware of oneself. If you could take one word to describe your moment of now, which word might that be?
expanding.
Where do you feel it?
Everywhere.
Hmm.
Outside my body, I feel the energy outside of it. So it expanded my perspective, my senses. Especially after yesterday, where we did that with Ebony. Feel the music way better in the air. And there is no music because I haven't put it on, but the universal music or frequency or whatever.
Mine's word that I'm getting is desire, like the heart, and it's looking it through the heart, so the heart's desire. And the phrase, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven," just the desire to follow, to discover, to explore. So just expanding desires.
Sorry, guys, I was in a place where I couldn't talk. Good morning, everyone.
Hello,
Morning, Craig.
Hello.
So I'm curious with all these new inventions that are coming to light. What happens when you add multidimensionality to them?
What do you mean?
Well, our minds can create a lot of stuff. But what happens when you take it to the next dimension?
It's where we got the creation from a higher dimension. Everything we can imagine is already created, just on a different frequency.
Yeah, but only partially.
Yeah, not like you imagined it, but it's like built on whatever they built. It's built for our frequency.
I mean, we kind of touched on that yesterday. The whole thing about learning deep listening, for one thing. And learning how to communicate with energy instead of just the five physical senses, right?
I don't
So
even
what
know how to
happens?
answer
What
the
happens when
question.
you add telepathy to the mix, for example? Or divining for what's under the surface of the earth.
Well, people would have to know how to do that. Know that believe that it worked. We're a long ways from that. One, the skills, and two, to have that be as a primary focus to go to.
Would like dowsing be a step in that direction? Do you know, like when you douse over different areas, like for example, like didn't Yuri Geller used to do it? Do you know that, like, in that what he used to do? Just tell people where to dig based on.
All of it is proof, right? So it's
Yep.
proof that. So that's how and if you have the technology, right, then you don't need to do those other multidimensional things. So they say, or maybe we've said. Nobody's going to believe in nut anyway, right? Shit, we got this stuff and people don't even believe it. Huh, Kyle?
Right. Definitely. Definitely.
Thing is, a lot of
Yeah.
cases, there's a lot of useful stuff that's been missed.
Yeah, I just totally
because
agree.
It's not recognized.
Totally agree. Well, that it not only not recognized, but it doesn't make sense from the old structure, which means there's thinking that the structure that's there is the only one that exists. It's the right one. We call it physics, science, everything that's already there. It's like, oh, as if what we have is the only way to do things.
Yeah, like the oil under the earth wouldn't have had any value if there had not been automobiles and machines that used it.
Or the first inclination was to burn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what we did with everything before that when we invented fire. It's, you see, it's everywhere. We trap ourselves. We could look at everything and see where we trap ourselves, where where we're limited, which I call is also a trap, because we're stuck there.
All about the perspective. I remember in Norway, I saw an old commercial for cigarettes. Smoke and get in shape.
Mhm.
I think it was the 60s or 70s it was from.
Yeah.
So, for example, Jesse has this technology where they've discovered ways to get a lot more value out of an oil well by doing some other things with it. I mean, what would life have been if that that had been the first discovery? The world would be a very different place. Had we known how to do that.
Yeah, timing, right? Timing. Certain things lead to other certain things. And the certain things, it's just so complex. It's a great way to look at it. And like, but since there's so much of it, curiosity is the key. So it's always the emotion, right? So the curiosity will help open and lead to the heart's desire. For example, Craig, like for
go ahead.
The I seen the opportunity 17 years ago, and I deep down the urge was there was going to be some rule that's going to make this, like, force people to do it. It's like I didn't know it starting it out, but I knew as oil would be threatened in California, this could be a solution. I didn't know how that was going to look or what it was going to come around to, until, a year ago. The clarity showed up for that, and it was completely against what I ever thought was possible. And so it's, if you think of like the narratives in the marketplace or how we do things, or the stories, the commercials, right? The commercials that are created, those are the things that create our limits, our boundaries. things that we can't see out and around, and then curiosity helps lower those. And so again, everything, curiosity and timing. Oh, time and space. Fill the space with curiosity. Please, I mean, if you're going to talk about multidimensional, the best thing to do would be have the world in curiosity.
Yeah. No kidding. So my point is too that we basically live in a society that has been built on the discovery of oil under the surface of the earth. I mean, you got to look at all the automobiles, you got the whole thing about work a day, commute, you know, all those kind of things. And it's very wasteful. It's, you know, there's a lot of things about it that, well, it's become very stressful. So what I'm saying is a simple discovery like that made a major impact as far as the society that's a reality today.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and it wasn't designed with efficiency from the beginning.
Exactly. It was designed to make certain people wealthy and other
That's
people
right.
not.
Everything to date has been that.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, everything's a bad, not an appropriate word for it, but anything that worked was set up to make money.
So what if our intentions were altruistic right from the beginning?
Yeah, that's curiosity. Is a step towards it. That's the heart's desire, right? That's where to head to. Not only good for us, but good for others, for the community, for you.
Maybe the true nature of a human is not greedy.
It isn't. It's just an experiment we've been in to get to the next one. It sure consumed us for quite a while. Because see, as every one of them comes around, we think that's the next new one, forgetting that it's generationally just experiments, if you will. I mean, why do we fight? Or take it to a lesser degree, why do we judge each other?
Probably because we're not satisfied with ourselves.
Yeah, and you realize that war is primarily economic.
In that way, since was it 1776, when banks realized they could make way more money during wartime than they did during peacetime.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's the wars of the extreme of it. Economic for sure. But I think even at the roots of it, of like why we fight with one another, is for our survival.
Well, yeah, and then we fight in a sense of scarcity too.
There you go.
I mean, the reason you fight with somebody is is to get a hold of their resources that you perceive that you don't have.
That's right. So it's a scarcity source of it. I mean, and if we think about way back when, I mean, man, at some point, right, resources became scarce.
Well, and our true nature as human beings actually pays the price.
Yeah. It did to become so deep in our DNA. So expanding desires.
I was on a call the other day and someone was talking about desire, saying that like the more desire you've got, that like leaks energy and it reduces willpower. So like the less you desire, the more willpower you've got. So like someone like Musk or Bezos that could buy everything and anything, they've not actually got they've not got massive desires. I mean, obviously they got the desires to grow the business and stuff, but do you know like anyway, that's just something that I thought I'd chuck into the mix.
It might be the opposite to that.
Because I think he's saying desire can leak, but then choice doesn't leak. I'd have to listen to it again.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to pursue that a little bit.
When you look at the leaders on the top of the company, they say the company wouldn't run without him. Well, he wouldn't survive without the workers. They're actually doing the work. He's not doing the work. He's just leading the work. So it's a symbiotic relationship. One can't live without the other.
So that's part of what happens as we create like this too, is that the relationships between things become different.
Bingo.
You know, it's not just how humans relate, but how things relate to each other. You know, and how we relate to the emotions that are involved.
The charges. That's discovering oneself is sitting in this conversation and just hearing what you say about it. It may not go anywhere. It may not yield anything.
But it already has.
But to discover where my charges are against them says, oh, I'm bumping up against my limitations, my judgments, my interpretations, my limits. And that's the only thing to break through from, because those limit flowing, those limit movement, momentum. And the crazier shit we talk about, the bigger charges we all are going to have about it.
Yeah, and I've come to realize that this society that I've grown up in has never been very healthy for me to live in.
Scarcity isn't healthy.
No. 90% of the world are doing work they don't actually feel satisfied with.
Yeah, right. Because the sense is the thinking is the when I have, then I'll be satisfied. Because we're a consumer society mentality. When I have, then I'll be happy. And that's when I say desire, heart's desire. We all could have different interpretations of what I mean by desire. All that matters is that people find for themselves what charges them positively, and that the highest ringing positively, that is what I would call their desire, their passion, their purpose, their power, and where they'll find peace.
Yeah, that reminds me of finding my true choice that day.
Mm-hmm.
One that rang true to me. What a breakthrough that was.
They are. And so simple. What was it? But what matters is it was the unique words for you that created the aha moment, that feeling that you can always go back to because you take it with you. It's yours. No one can ever take that from you. Just like no one can ever take I'm dad, or I'm a son, a brother. No one can take that away. And it's like, Craig, it's like, why hasn't life been living that choice? Like, why did it take so long to find that choice? Why did it take so long for that to have such a big impact for you?
Probably because it kept being deflected.
Yeah, you never looked at it. You never
For
were
whatever
able to
reason, yeah.
open it up. Well, what everyone else had told you you needed to be doing, or where to find it, right?
Didn't even know where to look. It just kind of dawned on me, There's always so much more than meets the eye, if you care to look.
There's definitely always the opposite. Because if our eye sees one thing, right, we're just interpreting what that is. We have to create a meaning for it. Otherwise, it won't pop out. It won't exist for us. We can't differentiate it. It's like if we think about scarcity, if we begin to see how much scarcity runs our lives,
Yeah, exactly. It's like when we find an answer, we quit looking,
exactly.
which is like ridiculous when you think about it.
When all we're doing is expanding our desires. Which is just full of answers that can always change with new information.
Yeah, I'd love to take a look at some of those things that Kyle's working with and see what else is in there. All the stuff that I've invented in my life is only being used maybe 1 or 2%. And that's a real disappointment to me.
What kind of things have you invented?
What's that?
What kind of things have you invented?
Well, I was one of the original developers of online learning. And that's become
That's right.
yeah.
That's right.
Become according to Forbes, a $456 billion business.
Oh,
They're only
gosh.
using 1 or 2% of it. which is just like a killer, right?
Right.
Well, we take an idea, right? We latch on to what works, and then we just begin to bolt on things to that. And really, if you think about as things develop, the true intentions get left behind because it gets changed so much. And sometimes better than what it originally was, yeah, and sometimes not. And I think that's what inventors have a big problem with.
Yeah, Nikola Tesla is a really good example of that. Like most of his really brilliant stuff was lost.
Or just stolen and hid.
Stolen, hid, whatever, right?
Because the word free energy doesn't make money.
Right.
So people like you, Cal, need to be very careful about exploiting the tip of the iceberg and not pursuing it further. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, abundance has no limit. But we don't treat very many things that way.
You can't charge for things that don't have a limit.
Well, yeah, that's the other part.
Nobody wants it if it's in abundance.
Yeah, but can you really build a society on abundance?
Yeah,
Can
just not
do.
the one we got.
It won't even remotely resemble the one we've got.
I know.
Everything's upside down, topsy-turvy on purpose.
I don't want to settle for that anymore. Not when I know there's a lot more where that came from.
It's bridging the two. That's the timing we have in history, is the bridge between it as a structure that is unsustainable.
Yeah.
And like I don't think we ever get to one that that's perfect, I guess, or a utopia or whatever you want to call it. Like, but
No, but self-sustaining would do.
yeah, it's a good start. Yeah. And if you see it, we have progress there.
You know, I don't want to spend my energy making a living. It's a huge waste of my energy.
Good. So what do you want to spend your energy doing?
Live in the desires of my heart.
There you go, living. There you go. So
Exactly. Which is my true choice, right?
yeah, right. And
I wonder
just happens that more like
how that
living, you will be inside that.
yeah, I just wonder how that transition can be made. And that's coming. It's coming to me. conversations like this are really helpful.
Well, you know what stands in the way?
Questions like "I wonder how" are really helpful.
Yep. The old thinking, right? The old way of doing it is what stands in the way.
Yeah, I guess you can call that mindset.
Yeah. And sometimes you got to take pieces from that past and just use them a different way.
Yeah.
Our thinking can be the limitation and it can be the expansion.
This just came to me too, which is quite profound, is that the approach we take toward newness makes a huge difference.
And what are the two approaches?
Well, there's more than two approaches.
Well, let's start with two.
Quality versus quantity. Two approaches.
Can't hear you, Heinz.
Quality versus quantity. Two different approaches. I see a lot of workers are now going back to the old ways to make the quality they did in old times. So they rather work with the old cars or build, but it's not something that the big company wants. They want the quantity. Small companies want quality now, and they are selling great on it to create quality because many people actually want quality compared to quantity.
Yeah, in fact, marketing and economics actually uses those terms with respect to demand. There's a quantity demand and there's a quality demand.
Which goes to a scarcity component.
Yeah.
Good morning,
So
Allison.
approaches. Yeah, morning, Allison.
Morning, Allison.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, superstar.
Good morning, Joe.
Grand risings.
Hi, Carl. I like the choice of mindsets, different, that the two different ones are quality and quantity. It's a good contribution.
Where
Yeah.
my mind went to approaches to new, like how do we approach something that's new? The two that why I said two is because there's two. You either decline it or you accept it, which means you're afraid or fearful of it, right? Which is part of the scarcity model, or it's flowing abundance. It's expanding. It's curiosity. It's like, so those to me, Craig, are the two approaches to newness. And as there's multiples, yes, but the multiples to me fall between the range, not outside of it.
Yes.
So it's like you start a circle and you end a circle. And everything's inside or outside of it, just depends on which way you're looking.
As always, you come up with such a good shortcut, Jesse.
If I only have two, I only have to look at two. If there's so many, if there's multiple ways, then it's so many. It's confusing.
And there's even multiple ways with the circle. They're inside the line and outside the line.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're inside the circle and outside the circle. Again, it's all about perspective, like you said.
And now fear and expanding, those have two. Like there's so many variations of those. Yes, without a doubt. Approaches and new. I mean, all the words, they all have so many variations. What matters is which one do we pick? Which one, where do we go? And then say, oh, what else could there be? That's the curiosity that matters. That's the expansion that matters. Not the answer, not where you go, not your automatic or response.
That's where the real value shows up.
That's right. And the delta and the difference between them.
Where you keep looking,
Mhm.
keep asking.
It has the potential for greater value to show up, without a doubt. Doesn't guarantee it.
Yeah, you actually invite the potential.
Expanding desires of the heart this morning, Allison.
Oh,
Allow the potential to speak.
it's interesting how we don't often think of potential as being infinite, and yet it is.
Yeah, potential is a dynamic. We tend to
Yeah.
think of it as something that's set.
I mean, I guess I would say no. It is actually it is completely infinite because it's for me. It's it's the energy of life. There would be no vibration without potential. So it's completely. I don't know. It's like a chicken and egg. Is the potential there first, and then the vibration, or is the vibration there first, and then that carries the potential? And I'm not talking from a physics perspective. Sorry, I don't have that kind of language. So I could be talking out of my arse. That's what it feels like to me.
Well, that's why from the 3D we keep struggling with infinite, right? So anything that's like infinite, like abundance, is really kind of hard to grasp from a 3D. Which is why it's so important to learn to be multidimensional.
Well, I don't know, Craig. I mean, people managed to have built a pretty awesome field of physics from the 3D, understanding quantum. So it's not completely limited.
That's my point, is trying to understand it. It's kind of futile.
Because they want to accept things the way they are instead of allowing them to be the possible possibilities.
Yeah.
Let's put it all in perspective. We know 4%, 96% we have no clue about. That's pretty staggering.
Yes, that is pretty staggering.
Yeah, we always try to collapse it so that our 3D can understand it.
Mhm.
We never get it. We're always getting it.
Say that again, Joe?
When we want to understand something, we think we've understood it, we think we've got it. But when we think we've got it, our teachability index goes back down to 0. So yeah, we want to be able to comprehend it and get it and have us head around it. But like we've never fully got it. We're always getting it more and more. And by knowing that and having that curiosity, it opens you up, to learning and So, but that's it. But like when we think we've got it, then it's like, oh, there's nothing else to learn. But like where Craig's saying he wants to like understand it more, yeah, we'll understand it. But then to realise that we never fully get it, we're always getting it more and more. So we never got it. If we got it, our teachability is down at 0.
That's right. And that the illusion of getting it is a structure of the conditioning of school.
Yes.
Understanding it takes the magic out of it. I still don't understand how a radio works, but when I was a kid, I was sure there were small people in there and I would take them apart, but I still don't understand why it works. I could waste a lot of time finding out something that someone else already knows. Takes the magic out of it.
Sorry, guys.
What did you say, Alison?
No, I was giggling because I used to love taking my radio apart.
Who didn't? And then they said, now you see why it doesn't work, but why doesn't it work? And they couldn't answer me on that either. Well, that just shows they knew just as little about it as I did.
Did you notice, guys, that the word magic is in the word imagination?
Hmm.
I magic. But that's it with the magic tricks. It's like someone could show you a magic trick and you're like, wow, that's amazing. And then you find out what they've done and you're like, oh, as if I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and the creation and the invention experience is totally different when you're working with the field.
Yeah, that's true. All your living experience is completely different when you live with that awareness.
Yes.
I mean, even, when we say that we limit ourselves when we think that we've got it. I think if you come at it again with that awareness that you've got it, but you've got that little thing.
Yeah, it's only a piece.
Yeah, it's always only a piece, right? And that means to live, for me, that brings living with humility. And you can feel that with people that have got great minds. Most of the time, people that have got really great minds, you feel that sense of humility because they remain open, even if it feels like they're not open to different how can I say this? What's the word I'm looking for? The different fields of knowledge. That's the only way I can describe it. Within their kind of domain, you feel this sense of humility. You hear it in the tone of their voice, the way in which they explain things. It's all in the vibration, I guess, right?
Yeah, and there's no sense of ownership in it either.
Well, I think I would say more that there's no sense of possessiveness.
Okay, that's
ownership is different.
Yeah. I mean, that's why stuff keeps coming to me, is because I don't because I don't look at it as if it's mine.
Yeah. But it's important to acknowledge that it's yours to do something with.
Right, right. Or to find the others that have the other pieces.
Yeah, that's doing something with it.
Yep. Yep.
I was listening to someone who lived, a Jewish person that lived through the time of the Holocaust and survived. They weren't in the camps. But they were. He was a little boy at the time, and what struck me was, and I used to feel like this as a teenager and in my 20s in South Africa, was that sense of this is never going to end because it's so terrible. There's no, you can't imagine that it will end. I mean, my response to my boss when I was at work with my colleagues, and he ran into my office and said, "You have to come and look at the TV. They've let him out." And I looked at him and I said, "Let who out?" And he said, "They've let Mandela out." And I said, "Oh, Pete, bugger off. I'm busy here with work." I didn't believe him. So that sense of, to be brought up with that sense of expansiveness it gives people a huge advantage, I think. That sense of knowing that from one moment to the next, there's always a next, and then a next, and a next, and a next. It never stops.
That's probably why a lot of coaching these days is around limiting beliefs.
I think what I've come to experience, which I appreciate enormously, is that you can have guidelines. It's not like there's an infinite world of unknown. There are some things that are known, and you can always use those. And for me, I've gotten that way more from from Jesse's work than what I got it from anywhere else. I mean, it's available in yoga, but it was still a bit out of my reach, I think, somehow.
Difference between other people's perspective of it, what reach is, and your own perspective of what reach is. Yoga is someone else's writing. And I bet it's not what the original creator of yoga meant with it.
Yeah, that wasn't my experience totally, Hans, but I think you probably are right about anything, any school of knowledge, right?
Yep, it's someone else's.
Yeah, but actually no, because that's the whole point about yoga, is that you've got to experience it. I think I think it's because I'm born in a Western culture, so I needed a bridge. I mean, I held on to my yoga stuff for dear life. I think probably you could say, hey, Jess, always like bringing it in. Remember this, remember that. So that was there. It was a very stable river bank, but I needed the bridge.
The ability to embody.
There you go. And then once you've built one bridge, then you start realizing that you can do it again. Hmm. You guys had a busy morning.
We had a good morning.
Yeah.
It's good discussion.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna jump off here.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for a great day. You all have a blessed day. Love
Yeah,
and
today
hugs.
was great.
You too, Heinz.
Yeah, beautiful guys. Big love to you all. Peace
Bye,
out.
Joe. Bye, Kyle. Bye, Craig.
Yeah, bye, everybody. Love
Thank
and
you.
hugs.